But yeah, right now, with no further ado, I want to bring my brother on. I've known this brother for quite some time. So have you. He came into the game in with an iconic group. At a time when consciousness in hip hop was something that was cool, something that was popular. Um, yeah, it was live to have, especially to be God and to have knowledge itself and to touch that mic. Those two combinations were, I'm not going to say deadly, I'm going to say lively. Those things were lively. And this brother is one of the architects that helped bring it to life, you know. Uh, and I was proud and still am proud to call him one of my peers. Brothers and sisters, let's welcome to the Godcast my brother, wise, intelligent. Peace to the God.
Peace, Lord.
How you be, God?
Right and exact, right and exact,
No doubt. Great to see you, God.
mutual.
True indeed. Glad for you to be here. I know the people are glad that you're here. Hey, everybody here, make sure you click those likes now. Let's get those likes up. Let's show our respect. All my B1 family in the house. So what's good, God?
You know, you know, just planting seeds. Plant seeds with the expectation of trees growing. You know, trees. In shade. I know I'm not going to be probably not going to be here to sit under and enjoy the shade of, but I'm planting these seeds for the long term trajectory for successive generations.
True indeed, God. So, those that might not know, everybody here probably know, but for those that might not know who just came up from under a rock, tell people a little bit about yourself and, who you are, what you represent.
That wise, intelligent, poor righteous teachers, 1990s, you know, culture freedom, Father Shaheed, myself, out of Trenton, New Jersey. We released a series of albums together, you know, um, in 1990, the first release, Holy Intellect, 92, Pure Poverty, 93, Black Business, 94, The New World Order. You know, uh, we were signed to Profile Records in New York, out of New York. But that's the story right there. From Divine Land Projects, Donnelly Homes, low income housing projects, Trenton, New Jersey.
Right.
You
So
know,
go into that a little bit. Trenton, New Jersey. That's like, for those that don't know, that's deep in Jersey. That's like almost Philly. Um so it's not like y'all necessarily had the benefit of like a Newark where they was just almost just a little 15, 20 minutes away on the path train or whatever the case may be. Um what was it like? What was the particulars of growing up in Newark? Particularly as just a young black man. Growing up in that type of poverty environment, and then gaining knowledge of self, and then starting to fuck with hip hop. How was all of that introduced to you out
yeah,
there?
Trent was different. Trent's different. His location played a major role in how the environment is shaped. 7.5 square miles. It's
A little bit bigger than Mount Vernon, which is 4 square miles.
right. So and it was a center of concentrated poverty. It was over the years, the surrounding suburbs, the predominantly white suburbs, they managed to find loopholes in the fair poverty distribution laws and found ways to send their poverty requirements to Trenton. So Trenton ended up taking on more low income housing than it could possibly handle, and that's pretty much how a lot of the inner cities, predominantly Black inner cities that we call ghettos today, came to be, concentrating poverty through legislation, through loopholes in legislation. So they sent so much poverty to Trenton that it turned out the high school had a 71% poverty rate. 71% of the youth at the school, were eligible for free lunch. So Trenton, it was what it was, and so it was a lot of single mothers, of course, my mother in particular, Coach's mother, Shahid's
How many
mother.
brothers and sisters do you have?
I have several. I have 4 brothers, 5 sisters.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? So, and we had a lot of street time. My brothers, left home early.
Where do you fall in that list of you know what I mean? Like
I'm the
older,
godchild.
younger. Your
I'm the
godchild.
godchild. Yeah, indeed. So,
okay.
that's what it was. We had a lot of street
For those
time.
of you that don't know, that's the
clothes.
7th. He's the 7th child.
Indeed. So, it was what it was, young Black males in the community, not a lot of fathers around, so we had a lot of street time and we were being raised by our peers. The examples we had of what it was like to be men were from men who didn't have fathers around, or young men who were trying to figure it out themselves, so we got in a lot of trouble, illicit drug game, selling. I mean, I was selling marijuana. I was selling weed at like 13, selling loose joints at 13. We ended up in the youth house. Me, my brothers. All of us been in the youth house before. And in and out of there and whatever. So some of us, some of us turned around. Some of us, woke up. Got knowledge of self and changed, and that's what it was for me. That's what it was for me. The 5% was big. Nation of God was big in the community. So you would run into all the time. You would run into knowledge, to the knowledge all the time.
How did that happen? Who could be credited for making the knowledge proliferate in Trenton?
Wow, it was a lot of guys. Yakimo, Kareem Islam Magnetic, Rest in Power. You know what I mean? It was a lot of guys. Power God, rest in peace. The God Glorious, Unique. It was a lot of guys, that we looked up to. Even if you weren't, and not even for knowledge of self, they were just some of the most popular individuals in the community.
Right.
So they had influence, but me in particular, I wasn't interested, I wasn't interested. My physical brother, Power Israel, had knowledge of self, on him and the brothers that he ran with, the guys
now,
he ran with.
He's older than you or younger than you?
He's older than me. He's a year older than me.
Okay.
And I wasn't interested in it. So he got locked up. He went to the youth house. He did a stint in the youth house and left lessons. Curiosity. You got 14, 15-year-olds running around, call themselves God. That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's powerful. A lot. That's weighty.
Very powerful.
Especially from where we stand, where we've been programmed to believe we ain't shit. You know what I mean? We've been
absolutely. You went from dog to God.
From dog to God. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so that information, that's what started me even reading anything. That's what started me studying and learning and reading. Because I always was a troubled youth. I mean, what they would consider a troubled youth. I was always, in school. I hated school. I used to be in school just there. I was just a fixture, but I got skipped from 5th grade to 7th grade, Because the work wasn't hard. It wasn't difficult. The work wasn't difficult. I just didn't want to be there.
Right.
So started studying, started inquiring. The lessons started me studying. And my physical get out, and I'm still not convinced though. I got out. He wrote the name Wise Intelligent on a piece of notebook paper. He tore it out of his notebook and gave it to me. He said, "That's your name from now on. I ain't calling you nothing else." You know what I mean? And I was like, "Oh, word." That's what it
It's
is.
like that.
See, that's what it is. So, then he started giving me mathematics, he was just giving me knowledge, be like, learn that, write it down. You know what I mean? Write it down. He had me like a kid at school, had to write on the blackboard 1,000 times, So I'm following the instruction, I'm gonna follow the instruction, see where this go,
Right.
but it just made me very inquisitive, it made me want to understand deeper. And that's when I started to really look at the environment that we were embedded in differently, you know, gave me a social theory, gave me a framework of empirical data by which to interpret the environment. So that changed everything for me.
So let me ask you, where does where does hip hop come into play in this story? Like how were you first introduced to hip hop living in Trenton? Cuz back in the days things moved a little bit slower, and you know,
Right.
Trenton's not that far away, but
But
it's
we
a
ain't
it's
have
a it's
Instagram.
yeah, and it's not like y'all
We
had
have
the
Instagram,
benefit
John.
of being close enough
Right.
to leech off of the radio stations of New York and all of that. Again, that like Newark and all of those was able to do the
Right. We had Philip.
WHBIs and all of that, and
Right.
even
Right.
the KTUs and the what I mean,
Right.
BLS and all of that type of shit. So number one, my first part of the question is, when were you first introduced to hip hop? And then a question that I like to ask all artists is, and then when did you go from being a fan to being a participant?
Right. My introduction to hip hop was with Sugar Hill Gang, the vinyl.
Mm,
My brothers,
I thought that
the
would be your
vinyl.
answer.
Yeah, that was it. That record, the whole neighborhood was into that. When that record came out, it was the first time we heard anything, remotely speaking to us. You know
Mm.
what I mean, in music form. So that particular record set it for us. So we all knew all the words to the Sugar Hill Gang records. We didn't know Kaz wrote was writing the
Right,
lyrics.
right,
What I
right.
mean? We didn't know that part.
And I don't know if we would have cared, but
Right.
at the time, like
Right. It was what it was.
yeah,
You know,
man, we loved Big Bad Hank back
oh,
then.
absolutely, yo. So, that was it. So as the years progress, and more records start to be released, Sugar Hill Gang, then Run DMC, you know, and but even the Houdinis, you know, all the classic artists, man, of Jekyll and Hyde's,
Spoonie
all of them,
G,
right,
Treacherous 3,
right. So then,
fucking Fearless 4.
absolutely. So then we started getting shows like Graffiti Rock, in the 80s. We had Graffiti Rock show. We had the movies come out, the Break In,
Beat
the
Street.
Beat Street joint, the Wild Style,
Mm-hmm.
Style Wars, so after that it was a wrap after that. So I was doing everything in hip hop pretty much except DJing. I was never a DJ. I regret that. I regret not
Man,
learning how to DJ.
I
You
did
know,
it all, brother.
you know what I mean?
I did it all. As a
It's
matter
what
of
I'm
fact,
saying.
DJing was that's how I really got in. Like, I started as a DJ and, like, got into the MCing shit afterwards. But yeah.
Right. I was graffiti art. Graffiti, the whole breakdancing thing. It's a young kid. Me and Culture used to make tapes. We would play the instrumentals, the vinyl on the stereo. We
Mm-hmm.
would play the vinyl, and the radios with the little mic on it, and you push record and play
Come
at
on,
the same
pause
time.
tapes. We was
You
the
pause
I was
tapes,
the
you know what
master
I
of the
mean?
pause tape. Are you kidding me?
You know what I mean? So you
That's what we
couldn't
had
mess
to
up.
do.
You know what I mean? You had to spit. You had, spit your rhyme to the instrumental wise recording right there. You know what I mean? And go walk around the way listening to yourself. That was what we did. Vinyl, breakdancing, all that. We were everywhere. Then I was carrying records for T-Bone, a DJ in the community. You know what I mean? T-Bone, we used to break dance. Yeah, the break dance crew.
T-Bone.
And T-Bone was a DJ. He used to DJ a lot of block parties. You know what I mean? So I used to carry records. I used to go to the show, go to his little performances when we was DJs, the little parties. I carry records, and do what we do. But that was my introduction to hip hop. And then MCs, the local MCs were my first influences. Charlie Bean, Omar Superstar, you know, Diamond D, Ammunition Posse, those guys, they were like the MCs that I would listen to and admire, and was inspired by.
Did any of them have a kind of style that you feel like, because man sharpens man, steel sharpens steel. Do you feel like any of them had a style that you might have looked at and then you might have like incorporated it somewhere in your style?
I couldn't say that. I would like to. I mean, because
I'm sure somebody else would like to too. Like, aha! I told you. I told you that was my style.
You know what I mean? But not necessarily. I mean, they all were original. Each one of them was so original, and that's one of the things that I took away. That was one of the takeaways. Omar Superstar didn't sound like a Diamond D. Diamond didn't sound like Trey 8. Trey 8 didn't sound like 22. You know what I mean? They all sound different. The whole Ammunition Posse, their name was like guns. They all had a name from a gun. They were solid. They were some of the most solid MCs, and Omar Superstar, and they were all guys. They were all 5%, all of them. They were just incredible. They were incredible MCs. They, some of my first influences. They inspired me more.
So maybe not style wise, but the fact that they had a crew that was all gods, did that kind of help influence the fact that y'all was all God making a hip hop group? You see what I'm saying? Like that's something that already kind of existed around your way, right? So it's like, we gonna be. We the gods too.
We were guys before we started the group. We were guys before we started really putting a rap group together. But the thing is, they wasn't on it that way. They were the Ammunition Posse.
Right, but you know how I'm saying,
but
like
we knew them around the way as gods. They would be at the rallies and everything. So and they were building. So we were just who we were. We were just who we were.
But some gods would be in a group with 85s too. You see what I'm saying? Like, did y'all just specifically was like, yo, or you just wasn't really fucking with 85s at that time? And so that's how y'all group came about. Or did y'all consciously say, I mean, y'all was the poor righteous teachers.
A lot of the MCs,
how did that come about?
A lot of the artists
how did the name come about?
The name came about. Culture was just kicking it. We was like, yo, we poor righteous teachers. We poor righteous teachers. That's who we are, whether we rapping or not.
Right, but if you was in a group with an 85, the name might probably not have been that. Is what I'm saying.
I was in a group with a guy before that, and and we were called Magnetic Builders, something like that. I can't remember the whole name, but it was me and another MC.
Right.
Godfather. And he was 5%. Culture was in a group called the God Squad. Before we even formed Poor Rights Teachers, he was in a group called the God Squad. So, like all the groups, a lot of the MCs at that time were 5%. That's Trenton. Trenton had a lot of 5%ers, you know.
Absolutely. So y'all came together. Um, you, Coach of Freedom, Father Shaheed, rest in peace. Um, how did y'all end up like getting to the point where y'all got a record deal and all that? How did that manifest itself?
Me and Culture, we were rocking since we were like 11, 12. So when when I moved into Divine Land, Culture was already living in Divine Land. Then I ended up moving to Divine Land, unfortunately.
Divine
Unfortunately,
Land, for those that don't know, is
is the Donnelly Homes low income housing projects, north side of Trenton. You
okay.
know, so when I moved out there, me and Culture started recording together. Culture was DJ, producer, Culture was the MC, Culture was doing a lot. Culture was just a hip hop dude, Um, and he was in the streets at the same time. Culture was in the streets. It's what it was. So we were transitioning. It was that moment. It was that point where we were transitioning from the streets to try something different.
Right.
So me and Culture was recording together. So we started recording. We started making records. We needed a DJ. You know, uh, we had a DJ named Divine. Divine. For his reasons, was no longer part of the group by the time we met Shah.
Mm.
So then Shaheed became the DJ, and we started making records. We said, me and Coach was like, yo, we're gonna bet it all on a studio
Now,
space.
now, what do you mean? Though we started making records, like how you just decide, all right, we're gonna just start making records, like
Right.
especially back then, like
Right. We started, we were like, we wanted to go in the studio. Here's the thing. It was groups already making records. Too Cool Posse was a group that had signed the Profile Records already. My man Gino G, who's my partner in Intelligent Music Group today, he was one of the first MCs on vinyl in my neighborhood. So
mm,
and one of the MCs that inspired me, so they had vinyl, they were putting vinyl. So we were like, yo, why not us? You know what I mean? We like, why not us? So we had to go in the studio. So Culture introduced me to Tony D, right? So
mm-hmm.
Tony D came around. With Tony D was the producer who was putting all these artists out. He was producing all these artists. You know,
Okay.
um,
He was from Trenton, or he just was out there.
he was from Trenton, but he moved from Trenton, and at this point, he had already moved out of Trenton. He was living in Ewing, a township of
Mm.
Trenton. So Culture was like, let me set up a battle, whatever. So Tony D thought he could rap or whatever. He thought he could rap, but he couldn't rap really. You know what I mean? So of course I battled him, and then he's like, "Yo, let me do some beats for y'all or whatever." We like, I would check out some tracks, whatever. So checked out some tracks. He gave us some tracks, whatever. We like, all right. So me and Culture was like, one day we were like, yo, we sold everything, sold all the equipment. Culture had mad equipment. We had mad equipment at Coach's house. He had mad equipment. He sold everything. Culture sold his equipment. We had stopped. I wasn't selling weed no more. I was working at some little factory or some shit, making cardboard boxes or some shit. So we took everything we had, every dime we had, and we said, we're gonna go in the studio. We're gonna bet on us. We're gonna bet on this studio session. So we paid for studio time, and we went in the studio with our own loops, with our own vinyl, own
mm,
samples. You know what I mean? We had a drum drop record, with the Time to Say Peace original on it. You
mm,
know, so that boom to boom, that same shit that Soul to Soul used and everybody used. We used it first. We like, yo, we're gonna go and use this drum drop record. We're gonna do this record. We're going in the studio. So we were in the studio. When we were in the studio, Tony D called the studio because it was the studio that he recorded all the time. And he was like, yo, I'm gonna come through. I'm gonna let y'all hear some beats. He came through, he let us hear some beats. We like, yo, all right. We recorded Time to Say Peace, Butt Naked Booty Blessed, Word is a Bomb.
mm.
We recorded all three of those records. that day. After that, we went to Tony D's house and got more beats. Rock This Funky Joint, the Slipping in the Darkness beat was the last beat we got. You know what I mean? But and you know, Tony he didn't like it. He was just playing vinyl. You know, he was playing vinyl. We were like, yo, that's it. You know, well, Culture was like, yo, that's the track right there. That's the track. Loop that. Let's rock that. You know what I mean? And that's what we did. It's so we put the single out. The first 3 songs, we put them on. We went in the studio. We had the quarter inch. You know, back then we had tape. You know, so we had the quarter inch tape, and we like, yo, put our record out. So we went to this label that Tony D was affiliated with called Diversity Records. It was YZ.
Oh wow!
YZ's
Remember
label.
YZ? Piece
Right.
to YZ.
Exactly. Shout out to YZ. You know, YZ and his partner Tim Baylor from Trenton, they had this label called Diversity Records, and they were going to put the single out. So we like, I bet, let's put the single out. So we waiting. You know what I mean? They holding our quarter inch tape all mixed down. We like, yo, what's up? You know, we felt like they were moving too slow. We were hungry. We wasn't that smart when it came to music business. You know, we were making black music. We didn't understand white business. You know what I mean? So
you didn't understand the diversity.
Right. We
had Diversity Records.
That part.
Yeah.
So you know, they would take it too long. So we like, yo, give us our tape back. You know what I mean? Run the tape. We gonna do it ourselves. You know what I mean? So his partner, YZ's partner, didn't want to give up the tape. You know, he wanted, you know, he didn't understand that we were who we were. We were from where we were from.
Right.
You know, and we were gonna come up in your house
and beat your ass up or whatever we gotta do, and we're gonna get that tape.
Exactly. We were gonna upset your mama and them, and it was gonna be what it was gonna be.
And you don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So he handed the tape through the screen door. You know what I mean? So we took the tape, went around the way, got with IQ Gray, who's also from Donnelly Holmes, from Vineland, and he put it on Northside Records, his label. We you know, the first single was financed by the streets, was financed by the block. You know, that's how we paid for vinyl, that's how we paid for the cassettes, you know. And we put it on vinyl. IQ took it up to New York, you know what I mean? You had to take it to New York. You know, he took it to New York, took the vinyl to Red Alert. Red Alert.
And that's back when you could take your shit to Red Alert.
It's crazy.
And like, he'll be on the radio. He'll listen. If you can get up there into the fucking, to that BLS room or whatever the case may be, he'll listen to your shit real quick, give it a yay or nay, and by the time you get downstairs in your car, you'll hear your fucking record on the radio.
Absolutely.
Those times, I mean, you can't, I don't know what the fuck. Like, that was just a totally
different time. The DJ
was
the program director. The DJ was the
for
program
real.
director,
And
you know
like, you could have been coming out of nowhere kind of, but, and he was giving shit a shot, and he had that ear that instantly, nah, or,
Absolutely.
you know, yeah, all right, I'm going to throw that on and see what it, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And then he did us one better. He took the record to the label and said, yo, this.
Wow. And
then they called us. You know what I mean? So I think he gave the record to Dan Charnez at Profile. You know, but that's how that happened, you know. That's how we ended up putting out records, you know.
That's what's up. Not to divert real quick. And I'm not trying to start no shit, but I got a brother here, one of the brothers who's donating. Thank you, Jerry Carr III. He's one of the people that asked for this interview. But he keeps asking me to ask you to, about how Eminem stole your style. Is that something? That's a thing? I don't even know.
It's not the first time I heard
about
it.
That being a thing.
I mean, it's not the first time I've heard that. You know what I mean? It's not the first time I heard that. But, you know, there's people out here we all probably sound similar to in some respect or some regard. But, you know, I've heard it. I've heard it. People have said it. People have said it to me on several occasions, you know. And this is the thing with
I'm
me.
thinking right now, like I'm listening to your flow, like especially on Rock This Funky Joint.
The intellect must come a step, didn't give you it, but give you what? The B, the or, the T, I often come to teach it up.
I might can hear something there. I might can hear a loose outline, maybe. Maybe. And I'm not trying to start no shit because we just all that shit is supposed to be over or whatever. So I'm not talking no shit. This is what my brother Jerry Carr III asked multiple times.
You know,
And he donated multiple times already during this program, wanting to know that specific question.
yeah, man. I mean, yeah, indeed. I get it. I mean, like I said, the thing with me is lyrically, I'll be all over the place. Sometimes to my own detriment as an artist. You know what I mean? Lyrically, I don't always rhyme the same on every track. It's different on every track. So you can go back and you listen to the albums, you'll find different flows on one album. So somebody can sound like one of the flows on that album, and you
Right.
wouldn't necessarily know that that's where they got it from because everything on the album was probably a different flow. And that's the way I've always been. I've never rhymed the same way. It's hard to take if you took the acapellas from Poor Righteous Teachers records, it'll be hard to sync one vocal to another track on the album. It's not gonna happen. It's gonna be very difficult. You can't take the lyrics to Rock This Funky Joint and put them on the Word is Life beat. It won't flow. It won't flow. It's just not gonna happen.
So all your shit is basically tailored to each track. That's what you.
Yeah,
That's what you.
that's pretty much how I've been writing.
That's how I like to write too myself.
Yeah, yeah. Y'all have flows. Y'all got flows for days. Your squad got brand news got flows for days.
Man. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
remember when I first heard y'all and I was just like, wow, I know we was I feel like y'all might have came out just before us, yes?
We came out in '90.
We came out in that we came out in 89 with a single.
Right, we had a single in '89. That's when the first single came out. '89. I remember the
I know we were right on the heels of each other. I mean, we
yeah,
did
yeah,
shows
yeah.
together and all of that. But I just remember just feeling good, like, oh shit, like the gods is really
So,
like,
was it
you
the
know what I
one for
mean?
all joint? Was it the one for all joint that came out in '89? Once
Well,
again, brand new in that joint.
it was
Was
just
that,
brand Nubian with the feel so good.
you and your
That
girl
was
came
the
to see the three rhyme. Now she stays, kick the funky lyrics, throw it down to a PJ.
VJ, yeah.
No doubt.
That was 89.
No doubt. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the one that
Oh, yeah,
gave us the
yeah, that was
confidence to even, be like, yo, shit.
yeah. I
I
remember that. We was bumping y'all
But yeah,
early.
man, I was just happy for the gods at that time, and who else was at that time? Like X
X Clan,
Clan, and you know what I
yeah.
mean. Man, it was
Tribe
just
Called Quest.
yeah, Public Enemy, all of that shit was
Yeah, it
was at
was
that
a
time,
lot
like
popping. Jungle Brothers,
so
you
it
know,
made it.
Boogie Down.
And that's part of what made it a golden era, I believe. Like when people talk about the golden era, you know, I feel like it's things like that that added that shine, that made it golden because, you know, we put a certain richness to the alloy, of hip hop that um that made motherfuckers look back with such a great fondness because you still had some gangster shit and all of that at that time, but then you had the balance, you
Absolutely.
had us,
That's what
you
made it
know,
golden.
right?
That
And
right there, that balance.
when I say us wasn't no sucker shit either. Like real street niggas loved PRT. They loved Brand Nubian. Like you know what I mean? Real hustling type motherfuckers, cause they knew the type of motherfuckers it was coming from, but they talking some positive shit though. You know what I mean? They talking some positive shit. They could talk some negative shit if they want to, but they don't want
Right.
to. They want to talk this shit. You know what I mean? And that's part of what made it golden to me.
Absolutely. You know, for me it was that balance, man. It was the fact that you did have the gangster alongside the teachers, you know, and the gods in the same space. I mean, we were on tour, the Poor Righteous Teachers, Ice Cube, Too Short, D Nice,
Mm.
Yo Yo, and even had uh, Kid Rock opening in Detroit and places like in the Midwest over that way.
Wow.
You know, so that diversity, it's like the tours, the radio, everything, the label rosters, the radio playlist, all reflected various lifestyles and attitudes from the community. You know, it wasn't like it wasn't one sided. You know, whereas today you would think that if you thinking if it's your first time encountering black people through rap, today we all fucking gangsters and shooters. You know,
Right. Yeah, man. It was definitely much more diverse. You had comedy rap. You had, you know what I mean? Just regular rapidy rap. You had hard, there was all just different
right?
kind of shit. Now it's like two or three different kind of raps, maybe, stripper rap, fucking gangster drug rap, killing rap, shit like that. That's about it. It's a shame. Um. So, I mean, let's fast forward just real quick. Just what's going on with you right now? Like, I remember the last time you you had texted me, and I think maybe you had some things going on that you wanted to talk about. Um, maybe you wanted to air out.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about? You know
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
talking about?
Oh yeah, yeah. That I wanted to, you know, the lawsuit that we have with
Yes,
Sony right now.
yes. I
You
didn't
know,
want to. I
with
didn't want
Sony.
to
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
speak prematurely or know if you could
Yeah,
talk about that.
yeah.
But go ahead.
Right now we're in a long drawn out lawsuit with Sony. You know, over it's a theft lawsuit, theft, copyright infringement, and theft. You know,
Mm. Who teeth
we're
what?
not in it. Sony TF everything.
Mm.
You know, Sony hasn't paid on the catalog since '96,
Really?
right? So, and yet they continue to exploit the catalog. You know, and that's the thing. You know, it's not a. You know, people would think when rappers or artists are in a lawsuit with the label, they think that the artist should have read the contract. You should have read your contract. You should have known what was going on. That's not the case with us. That's not what happened here. Sony acquired Arista Records in
Right.
'97,
Which
right?
we were a part of at one point.
Right. So Arista had acquired Profile
Mm.
in '96. So now our catalog shift from Profile to Arista, from Arista to Sony. So now Sony has the responsibility of paying on the catalog, right?
Right.
However, Sony decides they're not even going to pay. They are going to ignore us. You know what I mean? So we end up going back
Because
and forth.
you're a subsidiary of a subsidiary that they didn't respect.
I mean, I don't know if it was. I don't know what they respect or
Trust
what
me,
they disrespect. Right?
it's that type
So
of
here,
mentality that these bastards have. But go ahead.
so here's the thing, right? So since 2009, we've been going back and forth with their lawyers in emails. So we have them in emails that admitting their neglect on paying on the catalog. So they admit that they know they owe us. They admit that. They admit that they made the mistake in not paying. However, they just shut off all communication and they ignored. But we got a whole string of emails from your lawyers who are still your lawyers.
Mm.
You know what I mean? These are still your lawyers who are still receiving awards for being these racial justice, social justice, economic justice champions.
Right.
How the fuck
But they
are
not giving
you?
this black brother no
Right. It's
justice.
like, you got to be kidding me. You go and set up $100 million fund for social justice, racial justice, economic justice. However, you got lawsuits pending where you already admitted that you've not only breached the contract, but you've basically stolen content and infringed on the copyright by exploiting the catalog without paying on it. I own the copyright. I've owned my copyright since 1990. So it's like, okay, so now we're in this space where, we're everything has been submitted. It may go to a magistrate to try and come up with some type of settlement around it. However, right now the judge has it. The judge is responding. The judge just started responding since COVID-19 and slowed everything down. So, we can see where it go. But at the end of the day, with all this social justice and racial justice talk from all these corporations, right now the music industry is one of the leading perpetrators of racial and economic injustice on the planet. And I think that they're getting scapegoated. They're getting a pass. They're getting a pass. I don't think that the coals are being held to the music industry to the level that it should be. The music industry is the worst when it comes to economic, racial injustice.
That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. Okay. A while back, I remember seeing some posts on IG. Can you talk about this? Looked like you were building some things. Know what I'm talking about?
We doing some things, man. We doing some things. I'm doing
How do you feel about the Second Amendment?
the Second Amendment. I think that it's a right that we should exercise. I think that we talk a lot about how we should vote, and we say that people, I agree. I agree. Vote. It's not going to hurt. Might not help, but it's going to hurt. It's not going to hurt either. But here's the thing. We say, to back up our calls for voting, we usually say, Black people died for you to have the right to vote. Black people died. Your ancestors died for you to have the right to vote. And Black people died for a lot of things, not just the right to vote. We're gonna talk about the rights that Black people died for you to have. The Second Amendment is one. The Second Amendment is one of those rights that Black people died for you to have.
Speak on it, God.
So should we also exercise that right? Absolutely. And here's the thing. And on a human level, on a human level, the Second Amendment is neither here nor there when it comes to your right to protect and defend your family. No government can make a law that can take that right or give that right to you. You're born with that right. You're born with the obligation of preserving your genetic code. It's just what it is.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, that got to happen by any means necessary. So as far as the Second Amendment go, yes, I exercise the right. I exercise the right. I'm a law-abiding citizen. Why not?
Right.
Why not? So yeah, man. I go to the range. I go to the range. I shoot. I train. I learn. I haven't been out much since the pandemic. And since I've been, back and forth between Atlanta and Miami. Living in both places, so I've been constantly moving. But my seed's been shooting since 8 years old. My son had his first rifle, scoped rifle, sniper style,
right,
at like eighth birthday.
Cause I feel like I seen you building some shit, God. Like I seen you build some ill shit with skulls on the fucking on the barrel and all. You know what I'm talking about?
No doubt. I just built a AR pistol, slick, real slick AR pistol. You know.
So now let's see this. What I want. This is interesting to me. Now let's talk about this. How did you get into that? Like building joints. Like I'm talking about.
My first build was a co-build with a brother that I met in Atlanta. A real good brother. You know, he's a firearms instructor. You know, he's certified, registered FFL. You know, that's somebody who can actually sell firearms. So if you buy a gun, it has to go through an FFL in order for you to possess it. You know, it has to go through FFL so you can do the background checks and all of that. You know, my guy is an official FFL, you know, and his knowledge is just vast. His knowledge of firearms is vast. And, you know, he was a co-build, the first one, and the second one. And then the next one, and the next one, you know, then that's where I got the knowledge, you know, and it's just a matter of, you know, the right tools, having the right tools, understanding what all the tools do, the functionality of the tool, and you can build it, you know what I mean?
Right. How long does it take? Like, how long is an average build? Like, say you want to build a rifle or some shit. What's the average hours that might go into something like that?
Man hours, you can do it in a day.
Okay.
You can do it in a day, or in not even 24 hours. I mean, you can do it in the course of a work day, you know. Probably less than that if you understand the parts, you know. But but if you're waiting for parts, if you know ordering parts, you know, you get specific parts, you know, of course shipping, mailing, all that for the parts. So that'll delay it.
Copy. That's some dope shit. So a little while ago we was talking about I mean, you yourself mentioned voting. The elections coming up and all of that. Is this something that you are participating in? What's your thoughts on voting and the candidates that they have now, and you know?
Well, you know, I'm more vested in the local politics, you know, and I understand how the national politics affect things and in what way and in what measure. But, you know, my belief on voting is that, you know, politics follow economics, you know. So for me, you know, I mean, politicians are in a way like prostitutes with a point of view. You know, like prostitutes with a point of view. Yeah, I mean, you don't vote for them, you buy them, you know. You buy them, you know, and that's what's been happening, you know, because we're not in the economic space. Our political prowess is diminished. You know, we have no politically impotent because we don't have the accompanying economic component, you know, in place. We don't control the internal markets in our community, so we don't have the economic power to really influence what happens at the political level. So what we do is we end up voting, and people get elected, and we get neglected, you know. So this is where we end up, you know. This is where we end up. We end up in the same space all the time. Because I mean, you look at the candidates that right now, you know, it's like the only thing we can be sure of is that it's going to be a racist in the White House. You know,
right.
It's the only guarantee we're going to get out of this, you know. And that's what history shows us. You know, history doesn't lie. You know, history is not a liar. History is not your feelings. History is not your opinion. It's what happened. It's what actually happened. And, you know, Joe Biden wrote the Crime Act of 1994. It's just what it is. You know, and yes, Donald Trump is who he is, you know, and we're here, you know, and we're here. So, you know.
So what are your plans on November 3rd? Are you going marching on down to the polls, or what, you know?
I'm gonna be on Instagram Live with with somebody on somebody's show. He just tapped me to be on somebody's show. Okay. You know, my thing is, you know, vote. You know, you vote the way you see it benefiting, and think beyond yourself. Think beyond yourself. Can this benefit you and your community, your family, community, and the world in some kind of way? And how? And move accordingly. I'm not for or against voting. I mean, I'm with what works. It's all tools for me. It's like pieces on a chessboard. It's like, they all have different functions. They all do different things. They all move differently. So you have to learn how to use the pieces on the board.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a local believer in local government, more than I am, big government. I feel like you can affect more change in local government. So again, and you said that earlier. So I personally encourage people to get involved in local government. As far as all this big shit with electoral colleges and all this bullshit, like whoever they want to win is gonna win. So that's like a exercise in futility. But feel free, do your thing.
Right. Economics, establishing a strong economic base is your best protection against any injustice here.
Right. So what's going on right now? You got any new music, new projects going on?
Yeah, I'm finishing up sixth period. I'm at sixth period in a 7-period set that I've been doing since 2008, called Back to School. The first period was The Talented Timothy Taylor.
Talented Timothy Taylor. I always like that title right there. The Talented Timothy, that just rolls off the tongue so well. The Talented Timothy Taylor.
The second period was The Unconquerable Jesus Jones. Third period was El Negro Guerrero, the Black Warrior. Fourth period was Stevie Bonneville Wallace. Yeah, that was
where you getting these names from? Where you get that from?
Stevie Bonneville Wallace was an adaptation of a book that was written by Hakeem Woods out of Philadelphia. It's a hood novel about a young kid in the streets that's doing a lot of dirt. He's in the illicit activity, but he's being groomed by a revolutionary outfit. He don't know it. So it's called Stevie Bonneville Wallace. So I did the record after that. It's an adaptation of that particular book, that novel.
Okay, I like it. The name just sounds ill, because when you hear the Bonneville, it just makes you think.
Right. On the cover of the book, you got the Bonneville on the cover of the book. You know what I mean? On the album cover, I'm standing in front of an old school Bonneville. Yeah,
that's what's up. All right,
so
continue.
That was fourth period. Fifth period is called Ponzi. That was my nickname when I was a youth. That's what my mother called me, and when my siblings called me, the neighborhood called me Ponzi. And,
like a Ponzi, but like a Ponzi scheme.
Exactly, and that's when there's a record on there called Ponzi, and I open it with the Ponzi scheme thing. So
Madoff.
Right, I'm playing on it, but I'm talking about a scheme, a lyrical scheme.
The Ponzi. Ooh, that's ill. The Ponzi scheme.
Right.
That's ill. That's ill.
That was fifth period. That was the last release, and it's centered back when I was Ponzi. So it's 1985. It's about my transition from being an 85 to God. So I'm going back and talking about things that happened as a youth coming up. So on the cover of it, it's a young me with locks and the Adidas sweatsuit, shell toe. It's my son though. It's my son on the cover. But yeah, it's 1985, and the name Ponzi adds to 85. So it's all configured mathematically. So that's how that went. So then the sixth period is where I'm at now. I'm on sixth period, in the 70s, and it's called Poem Chomsky. Poem Chomsky. I play on Noam Chomsky, the intellectual linguist. So
No, I don't know about Noam Chomsky. Why don't you educate us? I don't think you should take that for granted right there.
Noam Chomsky is one of the premier and most clear intellectuals in the United States, arguably in the world. And his political commentary, his view, he's very clerical, he understands history and how all history is a current event, as Dr. Henrik Clark would say. Noam Chomsky understands this, and he strings it all together, and he breaks down the politics of today and where things are going to end up in the future. So Noam Chomsky is a beast, and he's a linguist. So he understands language, the etymology of words, and language. So Poem Chomsky is a play on him, and how I'm a poetic intellectual who understands words. I'm a wordsmith at the same time. So language, linguist, intellectual, Poem Chomsky, 6th period.
Copy. I mean, I like how your mind works. You always be on some extra deep. You know what I mean? The God be on some deep shit. There was a video going around of you. I think it was of you from some years back. And I feel like you were speaking passionately about, I don't know, maybe it was just poverty or so. Do you know the video I'm talking about? It's like a very famous, wise, intelligent video where I think you had on like some army gear on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What was that video, and what were you talking about in that video again? Just refresh
that
my
was
memory.
Savior's Day 2009. On a panel, and we were talking about hip hop. We talk about hip hop and where we are, as a people and culture. And I was just explaining that, this did not happen by what you're hearing on the radio and what's going on in the community and how the young people are being programmed in the way that they are. It's not a consequence of history. It's not a consequence of time passing by, times are changing. Time don't just change. Things change based on what people do while time is passing, and people did things. Things were done, at the corporate level to affect how hip hop is. My position is that, hip hop hasn't changed at all for me. Hip hop hasn't changed at all for me. Hip hop is still as, empowering and inspiring as it always been. It's just that mainstream radio, mainstream record companies, the corporations, they decided to change what they do. They decided to exclude a part of hip hop's and the Black community's overall narrative. And they truncated it to a single dangerous narrative, a very dangerous narrative, so we're in this space now where we're debating hip hop. It's like, nah, hip hop is the same as it's been. I know several artists who are still conscious, still political, still, creating uplifting music. It's just not being financed. It's not being backed. It's not being promoted. It's not being marketed at the level and scale of the narrative that the mainstream corporations desire to push. So that's what the clip was really, that's what I was really explaining in the clip, how they play. This is by design. This is not something that, and it's not about money. It's not about, these records wasn't selling and these records were, because the highest selling rap records in the history of rap were conscious records. Fugees, Lauryn Hill, 19 million, 17 million. Then every record PE put out went platinum. Every record Tribe Called Quest put out went platinum. Brand Nubians, gold records, You know what I mean?
No, 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 no.
You know, but you
We
know,
never went gold. Brand new, we never went gold.
they had to be
That's when
lying to
they
y'all.
introduced
They had to be
sound
lying to
scan.
y'all.
Oh yeah, they blocked us.
They
They
had to be
blocked
lying
us.
to y'all.
They cock blocked us.
They had to be
Absolutely,
lying to y'all.
absolutely, absolutely.
They
I
had to
know
be.
they was lying.
Oh,
They not
for
going to admit
sure.
to it. But I know that they put the program in to say, all right, we're gonna stop it at like 460 something or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
It's
They
specific.
did the same thing to us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, they did
Because
the
they
same
didn't
thing to
want
us.
us to have that power. They saw after Public Enemy that you could actually have political power if you go gold or platinum, and they didn't want
Right.
certain conscious
Right.
artists to have that.
Right. You know, not to get too far from our point, Arrested Development, 3 point something million records. So,
Facts.
you know, it's like you had conscious artists were selling more records than anybody. You know, nobody has sold more records than the conscious. It wasn't because the records didn't sell. That had nothing to do with it. It was solely because of the narrative that they wanted to push, you know, and their reasoning for pushing the narrative is locked into a system that has a socioeconomic necessity. So it's a socioeconomic and political necessity to pathologize black lifestyles and attitudes, and that's where we are. They make money off it, especially when you got record companies, radio stations vested in prison industry. You know, these same people are invested in prisons. So it would behoove them to increase their bottom lines.
So, what do you feel about like today's popular corporate hip hop? Is there shit that you like, don't like? What do you feel? What's your feeling on it?
I mean, I like black music, man. I like black music. I don't, a lot of the stuff that we hear, well, some of the stuff that we hear is like, as far as the content and subject matter, it exists in the community before it even went mainstream. Like I said, my beef, or my issue, if we can call it an issue or beef, is mainstream companies have decided to push this single narrative, one lifestyle, one attitude from the community, and that's where we at. That's where we at. That's the problem. As far as the music go, music is what it is. I mean, if we go back and we listen to Howlin' Wolf, blues artists, Howlin' Wolf was talking about shooting people in the chest with the double barrel shotgun. You know what I mean? He said his double barrel had tombstone bullets, and so Josh, the singing Christian Josh White, Nappy Head Girl, all those records, those records were there. People would, those concepts, those ideals existed. It's just that today, the companies that control the social machinery for mass public manipulation have decided to push a narrative that falls in line with the historical narrative of an inferior black male, black man, black family. So that way it justifies the injustices. That's the whole point of it, to present you as a savage. And when they present you as a savage, it justifies the police killing you. It justifies the prison industrial complex. It justifies everything that they do to contain you. The red line, the concentration of poverty, all of that. The making you out to be the poster boy for illicit drug activity in the United States when you're not controlling a percentage point of the drugs that's coming into the country. So it's what it is, and that's why they function. So as far as hip hop go, yeah, I mean, I listen. I like black music. Black people have always made great music to me, and I think that the current MCs, the current producers, I'm into some of it. I'm into some. I like it. I'll listen. Yeah, he's dope. He's dope. I can fuck with that. That not so much.
I mean, I feel like it's always been like that. Like, let's not get it twisted and act like everything that was made back in our day was dope.
Right.
There was a lot of whack shit back then. A lot of shit that we didn't fuck with. You know
Right.
what I
Shit,
mean?
I made some whack shit.
Yeah, like you
Keep
gotta
it
know
a
what's
buck. I
whack in
made some
order
whack shit.
to
I was like, man, that shit was whack.
you gotta know what's whack in order to know what's good. So, I'm not gonna act like everything from our so-called golden era was the best shit. Like some of that shit was trash, just like some of today's shit is trash. And I feel like I like the best shit that's out there right now, whatever that may be.
Right.
It just seems like there's just more trash now than there used to be. As far as there's more trash now than there used to be as far as what they're calling hits. You see? Like we had trash, and yeah, some of those trash would become hits, but it just seems like there's more of those now. Maybe but I'm not trying to be biased against this next generation. Like I want to, actually bring some young cats on here and kick it with them and just, see where their mind
Sure.
frame is at, and maybe give them a little education on how this hip hop shit, why we see things the way we see them, and then I'd like to understand why they see things the way they see it. You dig?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. My experience has been that I've encountered young people making music who see things the way we saw it. It's just that they can't get their music in the same space. Playing beside the artists that we see in mainstream. So we don't hear it. So we tend to, out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. It's one of those things where if we don't see it, we don't think it exists sometimes. You know, and they control the platforms, and that's always been the problem. The fact that they control the platforms, they dictate what we get and what we don't get, what we hear, what we see, when we hear it, when we see it. I mean, you got the same. Think about it. You got the same 10 songs rotating in Des Moines, Iowa, that you have playing in New York. The same 10 songs. It's like, do you really think the people in Des Moines, Iowa is on the same shit that people in New York is on?
Right.
Not a chance. But
Absolutely
however,
not.
so it's a programming, it's definitely a programming. They have everybody on the same thing, and we see it now. We see it, playing out in the world.
So here's a couple, questions from the viewers. Brother King Pesner said, "What's Wise top 3 MCs?"
I'll give you five. My top
Cool.
three, my top five:
Mm-hmm.
Chuck D, Public Enemy,
Mm.
Rakim, KRS One, Brother JX Clan, Lauryn Hill. My top MCs. And there's a reason behind that. Yes, there's a rationale.
That's a
But those
great
are my
top
top five.
five. I mean, you don't have to explain the reasoning, but if you'd like to,
So,
go right ahead.
now, the thing for me is that with MCs, I'm measuring an MC based on the impact on the culture, how they impacted the
Same
group.
here.
How they impacted the group. And Chuck D, Public Enemy, impacted the group in a way that nobody had. They were the political voice of the entire community. They were basically bringing us the news, the politics. They were my political orientation. For me, they were my political orientation. I didn't know who Farrakhan was until I heard Chuck say Farrakhan's a prophet that I think you ought to listen to. You know what I mean? And that's political orientation that in value is priceless. Can't trust it, shut them down. When you go into the lyrics and like Vesey and Prosser, we had a reason why. Who was Vesey? Who was Prosser? Who was Denmark Vesey? Who was Gabriel Prosser? When you go back and you look that up, and you start doing the research, you see they were insurrectionists. You know what I mean? And you start to learn, that is invaluable, man. The politics, the political orientation that they offered us, so that was a great impact. Then you had Rakim, of course. Rakim, for me, Rakim made us understand, me in particular, his influence on me and the group was, you didn't have to be a quote unquote square to be intelligent, to be smart, to be articulate, to understand science and math. He made science, math, and all of these concepts cool. He made that shit cool as fuck. He made people want to. No, I mean, yeah, the Dapper
Cool
Dan
as
joint, the
fuck.
Dapper Dan, the big ass, medallions on, but spitting knowledge, facts. You know what I mean? Actual facts, solar facts. Like, yo, come on, rock him. KRS-One, of course. KRS-One was, in a lot of ways, KRS-One was a great influence, man. I mean, he not only was he a historian in giving us the history of the people, he was also a style wizard. KRS-One could take you in 1 minute, you be in a battle in a club, in a battle, hot, sweaty, crowded, hip hop, boom bap ass battle. But then you'll be in the Caribbean with KRS-One, 100 guns, 200 clips. Here we go to New York. You know what I mean? Just killing it. You know what I mean? I mean, KRS-One, one of the greatest MCs ever, man. One of the greatest MCs ever. He was thorough, man. I mean, from criminal minded to spiritual minded. I mean, KRS-One kept it. He was always consistent for me. He was a thinker. He's from the streets. He understood the culture. He understood the history of the people. He represented Black music in a way that not many can. He's unparalleled to me. Then we had Brother J. Brother J in the X Clan. First of all, Brother J's voice and delivery is unparalleled, unmatched. I mean, is incomparable.
Yes, blue. Come on to gold. Like the way his yes, blue. Like the way he would say his shit. Come on to gold. Blackwards to the east, Tweedledee, Tweedledum. Like, yo, the texture of his voice was just
absolutely
crazy, yo. That song, that Verbal Milk right there, that was one of my favorite fucking yes, he said a yes, blue. Like yo, that shit was just ill to me. Like oh man, I love that shit. Go ahead.
No doubt. And X Clan, Brother JD, they were the first group to introduce us to African spiritual concepts. You know what I mean? A whole nother way of looking at religion and spirituality from the vantage point of what the ancestors were dealing with, and Kemet and so on and so forth, Metal Netta. A lot of us had never even experienced those terms or knew what it was. Now everybody's wearing an Ankh. You got everybody wearing an Ankh. They got rose gold, diamond studded Ankhs on mainstream rappers today. So Brother J, X Clan for sure. And Lauryn Hill, because, it's my opinion that Lauryn represented women, sisters, in a way that no female had ever. She and lyrically, I will put her up against some of the top male MCs in the game. Lauryn was an MC, is an MC.
Now, I'm not gonna say no names, right? But I got some people that'll make an argument that'll say Lauryn Hill's solo album was really more of an R&B album. That she actually did more singing on there than rapping. What do you think about that?
Possibly. I'm talking about the lyrics and the lyricism.
Right. So even what little rap she might have did on there, because maybe I guess it's all the rapping she did on the Fugees that that she could rap her ass off. Then when she got on to the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, she was rapping, but she was more singing than rapping.
Yeah, but even that thing and Lost Ones,
right.
The lyricism on those records and the subject matter, the lyricism, delivery, the production of it, everything. She was just I was out of here lyrically.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not gonna,
You know, but those are my five, my immediate five, and of course, you know, there's others because for me, rap is one of those things where I can't have a goat. I can't have a, you know, it's one of those things where, man, I so many MCs that I like that I've been inspired by. You know, everybody from Cool Keith. You know,
Yeah, my five go from era. Like I got different eras of top fives. I can't just
that's
tell you it's
dope.
an all around top five. There's too many eras. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like we got to get
absolutely.
into each era. Then I could probably break down a five of each era. But then you know what I don't like, and you probably can relate to this, is that they always talking about your top five MCs. But hasn't some of the best hip hop come from groups?
Absolutely.
Like think about it. Like some of the best hip hop that you can ever think of. Run DMC,
Right.
the Furious Five, like Treacherous Three, you know,
Yeah, all the way up to De La
All
Soul
Righteous
and Tribe
Teachers, De
Called
La Soul,
Quest.
exactly.
You
Ran
know, it's like,
Nubian,
yeah, it's like,
Boogie
yeah,
Down
absolutely,
Productions was a group. Like
absolutely.
technically, Rock Eric B and
Public
Rakim
Enemy,
is a group. Like
Public Enemy,
EPMD,
all of yeah, sure,
Gangstar. Like these are all groups,
sure.
but yet
Ultramagnetic.
right, but
Yeah,
somewhere
man.
along the line, everybody gets into this selfish solo artist mentality where no one wants to recognize the collective, like you know what I mean, and they want to act like that's not a thing. Like so, we got to start talking about top five MCs, top five groups. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, you know, man, when everything started shifting from the golden era to where we are now, you know, the golden era was big on
Cypress
groups.
Hill,
Right,
NWA. These are
right.
groups.
The golden era was big on
Ghetto
groups,
Boys,
but when things went
UGK.
to this hyper commercialization, it adopted a real rigid individualism that's reminiscent of European capitalism on a level that, you know, so where it excludes the community. It excludes the community, it excludes the group. It's all about me, it's all about the individual, you know. And now everybody's solo.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It was for the I believe it was for the record companies, for their benefit. Because it's like
Always.
it's easier to control one dude than three, four, and five. You know what I mean? Because there's always that one smart motherfucker that's like, wait a minute, I'm not ready to do what everybody else is doing. You know what I mean? Like, there's always that Ice Cube in the bunch that's like, hang on, let me see that contract. And then they like, oh, why you gotta fuck it up? Why you trying to be smart and shit? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, why don't you just roll with the shit? Like, nah, I want to check the shit out. Like, and I'm that type of motherfucker too. So yeah, they'd rather just isolate people. And yeah, if I could just get this one person by them, fuck these groups and shit like that. Let's break these. I believe they were consciously breaking groups up. You know what I mean? Like, and now that way they can even get milk more out of the contract. All right, well they're still signed to the label and all that, even though they're broken up. So now we'll give them individual contracts. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let them put out records for us, and now we making a double the money with the same investment, basically. Like, some
Absolutely.
slick shit. Some slick shit. These motherfuckers, man. Well, shit, man. If right now, if you had an artist, or you got a young dude from Trenton comes up to you and wow, I want to make records and all that type of shit. Like, what type of shit would you tell him? What would you be your advice to that young man or young lady, who wants to get in this game right now?
What stopped me? I mean, make your records. Make your records. Build your platforms online. Build your website up. Build your social media, and build your own following. You know what I mean? Build your own thing, man. You know, do your own thing. You don't try to get put on Don't try to get signed. Don't try none of that. Just do your own thing. Build your own space. Build your organic fan base slowly. You know, and do it like that. You'll find your audience. You'll find your audience. I mean, these platforms out here, they have a billion people on Instagram, literally a billion people. You'll find your audience. It's rock. Bet on yourself. Bet on yourself.
I see the hat that you got on, you know, says God in the flesh. Now for the people, I don't know if that's your brand or anything like that. I mean, I got my brand new being Godcast gear, you know what I mean? And if the people want some, they can go to www.hoodg.com and get you some Godcast brand new being Rod Digger gear, Lord Jamar, all that. But yeah, I like that hat, God. Let the people see. Yeah.
Indeed.
That's hard, God. God in the flesh.
God in the flesh.
Is that your thing, or you just
This is
got that?
Nubia Apparel. Nubia Apparel.
Okay.
I'm doing a line with Nubia Apparel.
Dope. Well, shit, anything else you want to let the people know before we
Absolutely. November
get out of here?
24th. November 24th. My first book, my first literary offering will be out.
Nice.
You'll be able to get it on barnesandnoble.com. You'll be able to order it on amazon.com. You'll be able to order it directly from me. If you want a signed copy, hardback and paperback and hardcover, ebook will be available.
What is the name of the book?
The book is called 3/5 NMC, the manufacturing of a dumbed down rapper. So, I go in on a lot of what we've been talking about today. Just explaining how we got to how the power structure forces artists to impose ignorance on themselves for rewards and prizes. But yeah, the book is it's hard. It's hard. So that'll be out November 24th. So follow me at Wise Intelligent on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Wise Intelligent, and for the updates. And when it released, when the pre-order links will be coming up soon. I'm gonna be dropping those pre-order links next week, so you'll be able to order ahead of time.
That's what's up. Congratulations, God.
Thank you, God.
Hang on. And Twitter. Hold on, I just wanted to put your socials and all. It's at Wise Intelligent, you said, right? On IG and Twitter?
Yeah.
Okay, that's peace. That's peace. So yeah, hit the God up. And when did you say the book comes out once again? And where can they get that?
November 24th. The book will be out and available at amazon.com, barnesandnoble.com, as well as through me and my site, which I'm relaunching in a week, wiseintelligent.com. And you'll be able to get signed copies, paperback, hardcover, and get them sent out. I'm signing them. I ain't stamping them, actually pinning them myself. So you'll be able to get that. The pre-orders on them will be out next week. I'll have the pre-order links up, and for the ebook as well. So
that's dope. Yo, God, I appreciate you coming through.
Appreciate you having me,
on this Tuesday night. You're definitely a friend to the show. Whenever you want to come back, sit down and kick it with us, you're more than welcome.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right, go to my Instagram. There's an article. There's an article I posted about a couple of days ago, 3 days ago. It's called Black Lives Matter, except if you're an artist signed to Sony Music. And it's an article that I wrote about the situation with Sony. Get that article, share the article, tag Sony in it. Help me annoy them a little bit.
Okay, well, I'm gonna just let you know you just told 125,000 subscribers on this channel to go fuck with some people. So yeah, you just make it.
Hell yeah.
you just may get a result out of that, you know, because we growing every day.
Absolutely.
Onward,
The growth.
yeah, onward to 500,000, and then to 1,000,000. Let's do it, y'all. But
There you
once
go.
again, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you. And much love. We're gonna talk soon.
Thank you, guy. Anything I could do to help the show, the podcast, I'm here for it.
Thank you, God.
All right. All right.
Peace.
Peace.